All right, I think I'm live. Hey guys. Hey Jean. Hey Veronica. Hey Larry. Hi Santa. Hi Shelly. Hey guys. So I'll just give everyone, of course, a few minutes to log on. We're not on the porch, unfortunately, but that's okay. We can have fun anywhere. So yes, in Northern Virginia, it's gotten it's gotten a bit cold. So even I thought, well, I could suit up, and but I was walking bare outside today. I was like, no, my fingers are gonna fall off. So no, thank you. But yeah, great to see you guys. So how's the holiday season? Hey Phil, hey Gary, hey Brianne. Yes, and we have some good questions. So let me get a drink first. And we can all bring our entourages in. So before I do anything, before I go live, I bring my entourage in. Of course, Val Nek and friends. And I also ask that your guys' entourage come in as well. And then we all come together to co-create a session or a live that's beneficial for everyone. So it's a co-creative thing. I'm the person on the screen being the speaker, but we're all creating it together, which is more fun. Um, Foundling says, I have something to say. He is showing me planet Earth. He is showing me the stars, and he's also showing me different planets. He says, we do everything as one. We do everything together. This planet or the next, it does not matter. He says, we are one. He says, we create together. He's talking about humanity's perception of, how do I say it? He's saying he's showing me one person, okay, and he's showing me a bunch of people around that person on their knees and like waving their hands like they're worshiping one person. And he's showing me an X over that. He's saying this is not the way home. This is not the way back to the heart. He says everyone is equal. We are all one. And he's saying we are speakers. He's showing me and him with microphones. He says, I encourage everyone to have the courage to speak. It is important. He's showing me the golden age. Okay. Uh, he's saying everyone has a part. Everyone has a role. Yeah, so hey Alex. So everybody is important. Yes, so how's the holidays going for everyone? Someone says, so we have a few questions coming in. So Monica says it would be awesome to see a pic of Val Nek. How about today? Let me just grab my iPhone for you, Monica. Sure. The thing is, so we perceive people to be their bodies, right? So we're really amazed by, in a way, extraterrestrials to humanity are very exotic, okay? To the to the ego construct of humanity, they're very exotic, right? So, and if we've never seen one, or if they're exotic, then they must be something special, or they must be something better than us in a way. So it's the same thing with, I'll bring it up again, religion, okay? So if you've never seen Sananda, or if you've never seen an ascended master, if you've never been enlightened, then they must be it's an exotic thing. So we're hanging on to, or we're how do I put it into words? Well, what it is really focusing on the egos and the identities of someone, right? So, how we truly know a being. So, most people, you guys are focused on my body, right? So, this is, you see the female body with brown hair or in the past blonde, okay? And that's Megan, right? So, that's Megan Rose, blah, 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 okay? But if you took away my body, would you be able to recognize me? So, because that's me. So there actually has never been a picture of me either. You've gotten pictures of my body, but not of me, or, on the screen you can see me, and for Val Nek and whoever else, all the extraterrestrials, it's the same. They are not their body. So we're expanding our consciousness, okay? So which means our level of awareness to connecting through the heart, which means connecting to the being in the body, not the body itself. Okay. So we've all had many identities, many names, many bodies. Okay. And we're the energy that gives the body life. Okay. So, and you can, when you connect to that energy instead of the outside, it's a much, much, much more expansive connection, okay? And it's actually much more exciting. To the ego, it's boring because the ego wants to identify things, it wants to look at things, okay? But for us, through the heart, it's a much more expansive state of awareness. It's the authentic, the true connection, right? So I don't know Val Nek as Val Nek, okay? And he has a male body, okay, but that's not actually him. So the being, we're connecting to the being within the body, okay? So a great example of this. So, and this has totally always, well, it's been fascinating to me more recently, but so I've had people in my family, my mom's generation, pass away, okay, and like tragically, and it broke up, like when my aunt passed away years ago, even before I was born. It like shattered the family, it broke up the family, okay? And it just, well, it didn't really break up the family, but it's, no one was really ever the same after that, okay? And what their perception is too limited to realize is that it's that being has come back into a different body. So as, like, not my generation, but the generation after me. So, and many of those beings or people that were so upset about the loss of this person are too stuck in the identity of the ego to realize that that being is standing right in front of them. Can you imagine? Like, how wild is that? Uh, so really, really truthfully, with the identity of the ego, you cut yourself off from seeing so much of the beauty that is there in the universe, okay? And you make your world smaller. So Val Nek could be standing right in front of you, okay? And you maybe probably wouldn't recognize him because you're identifying with his body, or any extraterrestrial, right? So um I've explained that, we've covered it before. So um but I understand. It's exciting, right? But see, alien contact is available to everyone. It's just take away the bodies, okay, and you connect with the energy within the body, and no one is really truthfully an alien. No one is truthfully a human, okay? We're the energy within, right? So um uh Val Nek is showing me, he's saying I have a message. He's saying we change forms, all of us. He says, my people and the Terrans. Um, he's saying the supervisor has a message. He says, we have said it before. He's showing me different time periods, okay, like ancient Egypt, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, okay. Uh, he's saying different time period, different story, different characters. The light is the same. Now they're showing me movie roles, okay? And like I can see like 1987, 1997, 2007, 2027, and so on and so forth. And each time, so I can see, so they're showing me the light within each movie role, okay, and each of the characters. And the light gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over each time period. He says the light only grows. It doesn't get smaller. He's showing me the golden age of Terra. And he's showing me doors opening. He says it's time to expand. Be who you are. That is another thought that I had. So I was at a family function yesterday or last night, and we were all eating dinner. And I was just, eating eating my potatoes or whatever, and like, but I just began to notice how afraid people are to be themselves. That's what I was feeling or tuning into when I was sitting at the table. So many people wearing masks, so many people afraid to be themselves. I can still see Luna on the porch. That is so funny. Looney, she's still coming into the session. Oh, I love her so much. But so many people afraid to be who they are, afraid to be themselves. So this is the more light you bring into the body. This is what the images Val Nek was showing. Okay, I'll explain in my words. So the more light you bring into the body, okay, that's what enlightenment is. Okay, so you become, not that you become more of who you are, but let go of what you are not, and then the light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? And then others feel the love within you, and they have the option either to continue to buy into their ego or to let it go, and then their light grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this is what is happening on planet Earth. Somebody asked about drones. I can see he says, oh no, he's gonna rat me out. He says, I have seen Megan get frustrated. She thinks they are silly. He's showing me newspapers, and he says fake news. He says she knows the truth. He says he is thinking of what to say. He is kind of, while he's thinking what to say, I'm kind of reading his mind, but I'll interpret it, some of it. I mean, there's many, he says I can speak. He's showing me a plane. He's showing me, I've seen these people come over my house, like, I don't know the right word, but people who are like in like, not, maybe they are flying bicycles or something, or like a paratrooper or something. He's saying there are many things in your skies. They are not all drones. He says drones are real. He's underlining it. He's saying private companies. He's showing me some drones, private companies. He's saying most of them are military. He's saying your military. Now he's thinking. He says, look within your heart. I think people, I'll help him out a little bit. So I think people, Val Nek, are wondering, are they aliens? Are they, is it alien life? He says, I've said this before, it is not the Federation. We do not show ourselves. He is thinking of what else to say about it. He's telling me to speak how I feel about it. About I should speak and voice my frustrations. No, I'm not frustrated about it. What I've noticed, okay? So this is He says, I will share. He says, Megan notices this. He's showing me fake news, and he's showing me people laser focused on fake news. Okay. And there's tons of stuff going around these people, but all these people can focus on is the drones. He says Megan has fun. She does not pay attention. He's showing me closing the newspaper. So what I've noticed too, so this stuff grabs the attention of everyone. So, and the military works in a variety of ways. So even the military that has the best and highest good for all humanity, they still put stuff out there so to distract their enemy, not necessarily to distract the people, okay, but to distract their enemy. So it's still it's still a distraction, even if it's coming from the white hats or whoever. So, and what all of the energy, so because I've been watching too a little bit like last week, and then I was like, no, I'm not putting my attention on it either. But so many people obsessed with the drones, right? So many shows and posts made about the drones. And I mean, it's really why do we give so much attention to it, right? And it's really we want to know the truth, okay? But the truth is found within our hearts. So whether there's, this is my truth, okay? So whether there's drones flying outside in the sky and whether they are aliens or not, it doesn't change the way my kombucha tastes. It doesn't change the love I have for June or for Ruffin or for Val Nek or for my family or for everyone else, and it doesn't change who I am. So it has nothing but nothing to do with me, you know? If there starts to be, you know, if the drones open up and then aliens start to fall out of the sky and into my backyard, okay, then like I'll pay attention to it. But it's what you give attention to, you give life to. Okay. And this is where, and it's coming where this is another part to it. So we're creating from the mind. Okay. So we're not feeling into our hearts, okay, and feeling into it that way. It's there's when I tune into it, okay, it's a lot of, well, it's based on fear. And that's how fake news works, right? And then we give our attention to it, and then what we're creating is more fear. And it's an unconscious thing. And then we as humans, we start to, well, then we wonder, why is the world so full of darkness and fear? And it's because we're giving our attention to it and creating it. Does that make sense? So for me, when he says Megan has fun, that is what I do. Truthfully, I always have fun, because that's, I mean, why would I want to create fear? Do you understand? So yeah, that's my thoughts. He says, I have something else to say. He says, the supervisor and I. He says, do not fear. He's showing me a plane, and he's showing me the plane shooting, and he's saying the words, the fear of war. He says the war is won within. He's showing me the brain. I'm just asking him to slow down a little bit. He's showing me the brain, and he's showing me another person, and he's showing me their brain, and he's showing me them going back and forth. He says the battle of the minds. He says the only way out, he's pointing to his heart, is through the heart. He says through the heart, nobody is against each other. So, and then he's showing me peace for 1,000 years and sparks and fireworks flying. So really, that's how you end wars. It's from within. It's a level of consciousness thing. So once we raise our consciousness and expand our level of awareness. So if you saw the light within the being who is your enemy, okay, or allegedly so-called your enemy, okay, you would realize very quickly that the light, and if you knew who you were, okay, if you know who you are, you see the light within your quote unquote enemy, okay, is also the beautiful, a different aspect, okay, but a beautiful light that is also within you, and you see the divinity in it, and then you feel the love that you are, you feel the love that they are, and then you put your weapon down. Because when you are hurting another being or trying to hurt another being, actually what you're doing is you're only hurting yourself. And that's the level. And then humans, what we do is, oh my gosh, why is the world so dark and there's so much destruction? And it's because this is the level of consciousness we've been operating from. So always trying to get back at another person, always trying to get back, get even, okay? So anywho, that's my thought. So Merry Christmas. Hey guys, where the attention goes, energy flows. Yeah, and it's so anyways, let me get another drink. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. And I'm not saying this is easy. So there's a question on Patreon that someone asks. Val Nek says Megan is very in tune. I'm just talking with him because the energy is coming in very strong. So my minds can only process so much information at one time. So the mind is limited. It's a computer. So you might have the latest version of a computer, but it's still limited, right? So processing information from them, reading the images or tuning into it, and then speaking the words so that it makes sense to you guys. It's like doing 10 things at once. So but that brings me to another point. So the mind is limited, and that's where we've been creating from, right? So in essence, so there's a belief that the universe is against us, right? So, well, when we create from the mind, it's limited. You can only go so far, right? So it's not that the universe is against you. It's just about coming out of the mind to where creation, where there is no limitations, creating from a place without attachment, without limitations, and that comes from the heart, okay? And that's where true freedom lies. So when people there's mind control is a big topic, okay? And it's you can only be controlled by your mind if you buy into the idea that you are the mind in the first place. So and of course, when your consciousness is always just maybe right in between the eyebrows and you're stuck in your head all the time, of course it feels like your mind is controlling you, and then that's projected outwards. So, but it's really, my point here is that we are unlimited, okay, and the mind is limited. So how could the mind ever control you? Because the mind is just an information processor. That's really all it is. So someone asked a really good question on Patreon. Linda says, if you could give 5 easy steps to enlightenment, what would they be? I love this question. So 5 easy steps to enlightenment. Hold on. That would be a big sell, right? Like if I could write a book, 5 easy steps to enlightenment. Just pay me $10 and then you'll be enlightened if you just listen to these 5 easy steps. It almost seems like an infomercial. So, and I'm just I'm just going to tell you guys how to become enlightened. So, there is no 5 easy steps to enlightenment. So, actually, enlightenment, or the true spiritual path, is the hard way. Okay, that's why so very few have approach it or attempt it, because it's dropping the ego. Well, for creator, it's actually not hard, because that's a perception. Okay, but just for the sake of all of our understanding, okay, it's their enlightenment is not easy. So it's not like you, okay, if I just meditate 30 minutes a day, do yoga, stop eating meat, then I'll become enlightened. And it's the thing is there's no one path for everyone. Okay? So many people try to be like Jesus and hang themselves on the cross because they believe that's the path to enlightenment. And really, truthfully, that was his path, that creator's path, not because actually hanging on the cross causes you to become enlightened, but going through the experience is something that you created for yourself so that you could transcend it and realize who you are. So every single person on the planet, okay, right here, right now, where they're standing, whatever body they're in, has created the perfect experience for them to transcend, for them to realize who they are, for them to quote unquote reach enlightenment or wake up and realize who they truly are. Okay, so my path, because I'm me, is different than Connie's path, than Pat's path, than Kimmy's path. Okay, so that's why if you reach a certain level of consciousness and you know this, you do not judge what another person is going through or what they choose to experience. Okay, because you might not have chosen that path because that was not part of your journey in this lifetime, and congratulations for you. But so so there is no judgment, right? So there is no right way to become enlightened. So really just being who you are, living your life. Your higher levels go out. So what happens is your higher levels go out and they bring you opportunities, either through people, through jobs, through different situations that happen, okay? And there are always, but always, always, always opportunities to open up, to transcend something, okay? So they bring you the opportunity in your person, and you either say yes or you say no, right? So so everyone has their higher levels, everyone has their entourage that are bringing them opportunities to open up. So I don't know what's best for you or the next person. I only know what's best for me. Okay, and that's where uh I can hear Val Nek coming in. He says, I'll let you go first. So that's where so many, to bring the opposite, I'll give you an opposite example. That's where so many cult leaders go wrong, or not wrong, but because there is no wrong, but they believe they know what's best for their followers, for these people. They believe that they know the path home for other people, okay? And they only know the path, really truthfully, they only know the path home for themselves. So they do not know what's best for others. They only know what's best for themselves, okay? So let me just look. So, but anyway, so for myself, okay, so I walk through my life and I purposely do things that are going to trigger my ego. So certain holiday events that I'm going to attend. So I'm just going to go and see, is my ego still triggered by this, or have I transcended it, right? So yes, I'm going to a holiday event to enjoy myself, okay? but I know there's a possibility my ego is going to be triggered. And that's even more of a motivation for myself to go actually and see where is there a piece of myself that I still have yet to transcend. Okay. And the ego would see it a different way. So you go to the holiday event, this family member, oh my gosh, they're being so difficult. They're being such an a-hole. I can't stand them, blah, blah, blah. How the creator looks at it is this person is playing a role for me. They're doing me a favor. It's actually on a higher level out of love to show me where I have places and pieces of myself or stuff that I've bought into that I have yet to transcend. So they're going to trigger me on, and I'm going to trigger the ego on purpose. So we'll see. So if you look at the holidays that way, it may make them a little bit easier because, well, let's tune into it. Val Nek says the holidays are strange. I do not understand them. He says celebrate every day. He says the supervisor has a message. He's showing me the circle of life, and he's showing me birth, death. He says the body dies, but we do not. Birthdays are strange. That's how the supervisor sees it. So it is true, though. So, I mean, yes, the body is born, the body dies, but we do not. So birthdays, in a sense, I mean, you could say birthdays, well, everything's really a psyop. I was going to make a joke, and birthdays are a psyop. Tom says, how's Ruffin? Is he ready? Ruffin is the love of my life. I actually have not been, I've been so busy, I haven't been to the barn to see my Ruffino. So, but I will. But I know I've connected with him energetically. He's more than ready. So, okay, let me get another drink. Oh, I was going to answer Linda's question. So the 5 easy steps to enlightenment. So yeah, so the holidays, what else do I do? So moving the body, okay, so some form of exercise, that helps. Drinking lots of water, okay, but really truthfully just living your life, okay, and paying attention to when the ego is triggered and not letting it get away, not letting yourself get carried away with it. I'll word it that way. Barbara Ann says, what can you tell us about our universe? Do spaceships travel through the sky or portals? Was the firmament removed over our planet during the era that the story of Noah and the Great Flood happened? Ooh, the Bible. He says, I'll let you go first. So well, I'll let him go first. So we don't need to fight. So I'm so smiley today. So he's showing me the firmament, or what people perceive to be the firmament, and he's showing me an X over it. So he says there is no firmament. He's saying your people have told different stories. Stories they believe are true. Some of them true, some of them not. He is reminding me, like, back, I don't know if it was, well, I'll just say back in the day. I don't know if this is Christopher Columbus, or he's showing me like people with maps, okay? People truly, I'm just energetically translating what he has to say, but people really truly thought that you could sail to the edge of Earth and then you would fall off the edge. Okay, so it's not that it wasn't, and they really believed it. So that's how they saw it. It was true for them. Okay, but it doesn't mean it's the only truth. Does that make sense? So but the firmament, for me, like, I'm not totally familiar with the firmament story. So I've heard people say there's a dome we're stuck under the dome and we've never made it to space, or we've never traveled to space. And I don't um he's saying he says, I encourage Megan to speak. He's okay. He's showing me different agencies. So I will, yeah. So he's showing me different agencies. Okay. He says 3 letters. He says they do experiments, social experiments. He's showing me people sitting like in a classroom, and he's showing them their minds. Okay. And he's showing me the agencies giving them ideas. Okay. And he says brainwashing. Um, he says it is very common on your planet. So yeah, so there's different, I'm trying to find the right words for it, but so for me, I'll just go back to what I was saying. The firmament, like, I never really looked into it, because when I tune into it, it just that's how it makes me feel. So I mean, if that's the case, right? So why can you see, like, why can we see the sun? So is the sun inside the firmament? Because if that were true, I mean, I would have a wicked tan by now, you know? Why can we see the moon? Is the moon inside the firmament, right? So, and you know, we've seen, so people say that NASA is not forthcoming, okay, but there's also SpaceX, and we've all seen those videos, or maybe most of us have seen those videos of the Starship. So so it doesn't make sense to me. So so I don't buy into it. So, but people manage to find me on my alien channel. So even though they don't believe in aliens or that we ever made it past the firmament, it's an interesting thing, right? So he's saying there is a remedy for this. He's showing me a box, okay? And he's showing me people around the box, okay? And they are projecting their consciousness into the box, and it stays in the box, okay? He's showing me the box, and the box is labeled beliefs, okay? He says it's not about believing. He says it is a knowing who you are. There is a difference. One from the mind, one from the heart. He's showing me their hearts lighting up, okay? So bringing their consciousness, not projecting outside of themselves, but actually literally putting their consciousness inside and dropping it into the heart, and then expanding it from there. And then I see the boxes disappear. So what he's saying is, we're transcending, we're getting rid of all of those ego constructs, okay, and coming into the heart where we actually feel the truth, we know the truth, and then instead of believing it, or it coming from the mind. So that's why there's so many arguments or discussions. This is misinformation, this is disinformation, I have the only truth, this is the truth, this truther knows the best truth. Oh my god, like no thank you, right? So it's at least for me, like, I don't want to, the way that I see it is, it's a lot like kindergartners arguing, like I don't know if anyone's been around kids, but like one kid will say, you know, I have a pink unicorn, and then another kid will say, nope, that's purple. And like, they're both in their minds, that's how they see it, okay? And then they'll argue over it for a little while, but it's, well, there is much greater truth, and there's no reason to argue over the truth when you feel it and you know it, and it's not just a flimsy ego construct in the mind. So Kimmy says, kids are more intelligent than we are. So, yeah, so let's talk about the children, because we were all once children, right? So, at least once. So, yes, Val Nek loves children too. So do I. So, they are, I don't know, for me, they're so much fun. So, and they really, they have yet to buy into the ego. So, or their ego, they still have ego. So babies, so I'll explain this. So babies, when they're born, newborns, okay, really don't have, they have an ego. They have stuff that they've brought into, to transcend, okay, but they have not bought into it yet. They really have no filters. They're so open. And that's why so many people gravitate to babies. They're so precious. They're so innocent. They're really, what it is the purity that they are, okay? The pure love that they are. And the love that they are is also the love that humanity is. But what adults have done is, by buying into the ego, right? Those ego constructs that Val Nek just, the image that he gave me to tell you guys, is we put shields on, okay? We've made ourselves smaller. We've actually closed ourselves off, or hidden the authentic self, hidden the love, and something else, the ego has come into the forefront. So because we've bought into the idea that we need to be protected, that the world is so harsh, um, uh, and just there's other stuff that's from past lifetimes, okay? All of these belief systems, it's made us smaller, like he just said. So we're not as, or adults, humanity is not as open to love, okay? And that's why everyone feels alone, okay? But the babies are not. They are very open, okay? And they will grow up and buy into the ego and all of that, right? But they are a great, same thing with the animals, okay? They have no filters. They're just pure, unconditional love, okay? So, but we have the opportunity to transcend all this and be who you are, and be who we are, okay? Which is love and light. Which is love. So, Tom says children are closer to source. So they have not perceived themselves to be separate from source, okay, because they haven't bought into the ego. So but they're not closer to source. So they haven't bought into the perception. Humanity has bought into the perception that they are the false identity. They are the identity of the ego, okay? They projected their consciousness into that little box that keeps them stuck, and that little box is not connected to source. So, and that's where the feelings of loneliness, of the fear of death, darkness, all of that, that's where all of that comes from. So, and when you pull your consciousness out of it, okay, and that dissolves, and you come back to the heart, then that's when you're emanating the purity, the love that you are. So, and this is really, Val Nek says, I have a message. He says, the Federation, he says, my people, our number one priority. He says, Terran support. He is explaining, okay, or trying to convey that there are, he's showing me military contracts. He says, yes, we assist the military. He says, but we are much bigger. I'm just going to energetically explain. So it's actually more important, okay, see the Federation, okay, in 5D, and it's still a limited perspective, but just so everyone can understand. They can assist the military. They can give them better technology. They can do all of this stuff, okay? But he says, if he's showing me a person and he's showing me shackles on them, on their hands and on their feet, He says they have to break their chains. We cannot do it for them. This is most important. And he's showing me people surrounding that person being the light that they are. And then the person, instead of looking outward for someone to free them, they look within. And then the shackles dissolve. He says slavery is an illusion. That is all. And he's underlining it. He's showing me newspapers. He says it is fake news. Something you give energy to. It is not real. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So, anywho, it's true though. So, I mean, you know, yes, Trump is back in office. Yes, all of these great things are happening, or their plans, okay? But they are these public figures, and these public figures, they're just one person. This is a collective thing, okay? So, and the aliens, whoever our entourages, they can do their part, okay? But now it's time for us to do ours as well. So, and for me, that's what me, the supervisor, Val Nek, that's what we work on most of the time with me too, is transcending all of those perceptions and belief systems. So Connie says, when does a caged bird sing? Open the door. Yeah. Someone says, you can't free a slave that holds on to their chains. Yeah, and what's actually crazy is that so when you put yourself into a box, so remember that picture that Val Nek showed me, okay, where we project our consciousness into the box, okay? The box is a cage. So you projected your consciousness into the cage, and you bought into the idea that the box has power over you. You literally created it for yourself. That's what when you try to find the truth from the mind, it's actually you're just buying into more hoopla, more belief systems. You're just making yourself smaller and smaller and smaller. That's why I say it sounds cheesy or repetitive. So when I answer, the truth is found within. But literally, I would not be doing anyone a service by presenting another ego construct or presenting another belief system for someone to buy into. So because it's literally about coming out of the box. It's fun. I love being outside of the box. Forsaken says, Megan, did you already discuss the drones? Would care to hear your take on this? Yes, earlier in the live, I discussed the drones. The drones, I mean, you know, our military has had advanced technology, has had drones for a very long time, right? And so there's different, well, anyways, so yeah, we already talked about it. So, do you know those little toy, Val Nek is showing me one of those in his hands, those little, like toys with like a little spinning, you know, propeller on it. He's showing me that, and he's going like this, spinning. And then he says, I like to make jokes. Megan loves to laugh. This is true. Lisa, I love Lisa. Lisa, this is a great question too. Thank you for asking. So thank you to everyone who has the courage to ask questions. So there's many people who don't want to ask or put themselves out there because they don't want to be judged. So and yes, sometimes that is the case where a question is asked and it's met with judgment, but not here on this live, because we're about fun. So so Lisa asks, what might a healthy introvert's life look like? Is it just a wounded hiding, or self-aligning away from a hard-edged, ego-driven world? So the thing is, the ego likes to hide, because it's made up of fight or flight belief systems that are based on fear, right? And so when when the ego is afraid, it either fights or attacks or it hides. Okay, so the ego loves to hide because it's very simple. Then if it's hiding, no one can hurt me, right? So the thing is, Lisa, the question here is, do you enjoy hiding, or do you enjoy being, see, even being by yourself? So for me right now, there's no one else physically in the room, okay, but energetically, I'm never alone, right? So I'm not even by myself. So hiding is actually a perception of the ego. So because how could you hide from all that is? Good luck. How could you hide from the universe? You are one with the universe. And why would you need to hide from it? So, and when we're trying to, it's interesting because you could be alone in your apartment or your house or whatever, perceptively, physically you're alone, okay? Because you don't want to interact with, you said, the hard-edged, ego-driven world, okay? But what you're doing energetically is you're actually pushing it away from you. And what you do when you're pushing it away from you is you're giving it energy, right? Or when you say, I'm trying to align away from the ego, away from the darkness, okay, you're actually pushing it away and you're attaching it to yourself. You're giving it energy, and you're not really getting away from it. You're actually attaching yourself directly to it. So, and you've just then you bring all of that into whatever space you're in. So you're not really hiding from anything. Does that make sense? So the question here, Lisa, is how does it feel in your body? So first of all, the hard-edged, ego-driven world. So that's a perception. Actually, the egos don't drive anything. I just have to pay attention so that I don't lose, the Wi-Fi goes out sometimes, and if I'm not looking at the camera, I won't notice. But the hard-edged, ego-driven world. So source, life, creator, is the driving force in the universe. Okay, so so someone who maybe has given their power away totally to the ego, or the ego is driving the show, okay? Someone who, people like to use the word NPC, but someone who is fast asleep, okay? There's still light in the background, okay? It's not in the forefront, it's not showing itself, okay? But it's in the background, okay? Driving that, it's literally driving the ego. The ego could not exist unless we give it energy. Do you understand? So the ego has no power at all. There's only the perception that the ego has power, right? So, and the more, Lisa, the more you come back to yourself, okay, the more you'll be able to stand in front of people or have conversations with people who are, quote unquote, maybe even attacking you, maybe even downright yelling in your face. Okay, this has happened to me. So and being able to stand in your presence and be exactly who you are, okay, that is possible, okay? And then you will recognize the light within them. You'll also recognize the ego, okay? And you'll have the option to say, yes, I want to continue this conversation, okay? If the light is well, if they're coming from the heart, okay? But if they're continuing to come from the ego, you can say no and walk away. But it's just about coming from a place of neutrality, okay? So it doesn't mean that if you're coming from the heart that you're BFFs, you're hanging out, you're giving into everyone's egos, okay? It just means that you're coming from a place of neutrality, and you know who you are, so you're able to say, no, this does not serve me, or yes, it does, okay? So, but we've explored it before, Lisa, right? So it may be beneficial to go out into the world and interact with others, right? Because, being an introvert, it's also an ego identity, okay? And being an extrovert is also an ego identity. Really, well, the animals, so they their hearts are open, right? So, and you're wanting more and more every day, you're opening your heart, right? So what does your heart say? Because there's no, see, what would be the point of becoming enlightened or becoming who you are and never showing anyone, okay? And never shining your light. So, because see, the thing is, once you come back to the heart, okay, we go out and we assist others and we shine the light that we are, and then they feel that, and then they start to open up and shine their light back, and we all work together. It's a co-creative thing. So it's not about becoming an ascended master so you can hide in the closet, okay? It's about assisting others. So, and by assisting others, guess who you assist? You assist yourself, and then the love grows. That's the level of consciousness we're coming into, okay? So you cannot, so there's a perception from the ego, a perception of lack, that other people can take your light away, and that, well, you can get the light from others, and that is true if you make it true. But when you look within and you find your light, okay, and you know nobody can take it away from you, then things become very fun. So, and there, the light can only grow. So it cannot take, nothing can take, when you co-create with others, it only grows, okay? There's no, the one party is not competing with the other party trying to take the light away and trying to compete with who shines the brightest, okay? One creator is shining, the other creator is shining, and then it creates a spiral upward, and then they create together. They only grow together, okay? So there is no lack in the universe. Lack comes from the mind. It comes from the ego. The mind is a computer program, okay? So, and it cannot, no matter what, it cannot. This is why when people say AI is going to take over the world, blah, 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 it's a computer program. It only understands limitations by nature, by programming, okay? So it's only ever going to be truly very limited. Even if humans program it, there's no life to AI at all. There's no driving force to it at all. So it's just a computer program, right? The only, yeah, anyways, I kind of lost my train of thought, but that's what I was saying. Joe says, so does effectively handling difficult people using nonviolence contribute to my improved awareness of how I handle my own ego and truth? Ooh, good question. It's not that you necessarily gain awareness by handling difficult people. We don't want to handle difficult people. There's no need to handle anyone, right? It's just because even in the word handling, it implies that you're trying to control them, okay? And you can't control them, okay? By trying to control them, they're actually going to be able, or really what it is your ego is going to start to control you. So it's just about coming from a place of being neutral, right? And if they trigger your ego, then you address the ego, and the ego becomes smaller, okay? And then you raise your awareness, right? So it's just, it's not about handling anyone. It's just about coming from the heart, coming from how do you really feel, right? So, and yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Danielle says, can Val Nek tell us if there are more people than before who are really in contact with benevolent ET beings, let's say in telepathic form? So let's ask him. He says, I love questions. He's showing me extraterrestrials, okay? He's showing me all different races of extraterrestrials. He's saying they are connected through the heart, not the ego. So he's showing me the extraterrestrials, okay, coming from the heart. They're beaming their light onto humanity, okay? And he's showing me one person whose heart is very open, okay? And then they're connecting heart to heart, right? And then what happens is energetically their energy comes into their heart, and then it creates a telepathic connection, or the mind generates words to understand, or it's translating the connection, right? So he says we connect through the heart. He says there are many ways to connect. He's showing me the brain, okay? And then he's showing me someone perceiving, like feeling, okay? He says the connection is felt. It is not a thought. So it's literally about connecting in them, around them, through them, okay, to the energy that they are. And remember, so extraterrestrials, those are just a shell, okay? And so when you take away their bodies, okay, and if you took away my body and humanity's body, what would you see within the body? Or that what was driving the force of the body is the light, okay? And the light is always connected to the light. To answer your, so there's that is well, it is the truth. So there are people, okay? So it's like I said, being in contact with aliens, it's a perception, because really, what is an alien? So it depends on where you're standing and what planet you're on, okay? So and really your perception of yourself, right? So there are people who have friends, sure, that are off planet, okay, but it doesn't really, it could be just like talking to another human, okay? And you could have a very superficial connection with an extraterrestrial if your consciousness is still stuck in the mind. You'll only be able to connect to them through all of the ego constructs you've created, through how aware you are of yourself is how aware you are going to be of them. So if you have a very limited perception of who you are, you're only going to be able to connect with them through a very limited way. So I'll use this as an example. So people that I know in my life, right? So a lot of them, really, they're only connecting to me on a very limited way. So they're just, really what it is they're connecting to me through the mind, and there is no connection there at all. The mind's the computer, right? So, and that's why so many people feel alone. This is why the aliens have not come down yet. It would not be expansive. We would just be connecting to them through the mind, because we haven't tuned into who we are. We haven't expanded into the heart. Most of humanity has not expanded into the heart and opened it up yet. Because when you come from the heart, you can feel the love that you are, you can feel the love that they are, and then it's a much more satisfying connection, instead of just really looking at things very black and white like the mind does. Like, I see Megan Rose, she has brown hair, she's a female, she rides horses, she talks to aliens, she lives in the United States, okay, she drives this kind of car. Those are all the boxes that we put people into. So, and we do the same thing with extraterrestrials. So we want to know, okay, this person's name, which is interesting because the aliens they know the alphabet, but they don't speak our language at all. So it's just really a name that we decide to call them. So we want to know their name, what they look like, what planet they're from, what race they are, their social security number, do they have, and it's understandable. I'm not saying it's not, right? But I'm just saying this is what when the mind scans people, instead of tuning into the being. So this is where It's like this. This is what it's like. It's like so people, when they get into romantic relationships, they have a set of expectations of what that person's body should look like, how they should act, different requirements, okay? And we believe that it's love. The brain has been trained to believe that that's love. But what we're doing is we're trying to fit that being, that beautiful being, into a box and limit them and fulfill an ego construct, really try to fulfill ourselves, okay? But that being cannot bring our light into the body. Only we can. So I'm responsible for myself. I bring my light into this realm. You bring your light into this realm. No one outside of you can do it for you, okay? And this is where we're evolving to, we're expanding to, and then the extraterrestrials, there will be a more physical, or they can appear more physically, or really be in more of a, well, it will open. There will be a time where really people really start to open up, and that's when really the floodgates open, when we stop looking at things through the superficial eyes of the mind and start connecting through the heart. So someone says your internet is cutting out. Someone says, Captain Switch, I named my cat Val Nek. Tell Val about this boy here. Oh yeah, he'll love that. Yeah, I'm lucky my internet has Joseph says, so Joseph has a criticism again for me. He says, for mercy's sake, drink from a glass. My dear, bottle in your viewer's face is crude and less than considerate. So listen, the kombucha, I mean, that's a beautiful bottle right here. Why? Why? So if, whether I drink from a glass or whether I drink from a bottle or a mug, right? You'll still have to see me pick up the glass and drink it, right? So whether it's like an actual cup or whatever. So it's just, right? So you don't like it, right? So likes, dislikes, preferences, okay? So I'm not fitting into your box, right? So, and actually that's that's actually why I'm here. So to not fit into the boxes, right? So so I'm totally okay with that. So I'll I actually enjoy it. So why would I do anything different? Why would I have to change so that your ego feels comfortable, right? So so that's not why I'm here. So it's actually the more you are yourself, right? The more people's egos will be uncomfortable with you, right? And then they lash out, or they find a criticism, or they focus on the bottle on the screen, and Megan's this or that. But anyways, so it's just funny. Someone says no problems on my end. So I think we'll end with that. So my Junie, my June, my mini horse. So June comes into my sessions that I do with people a lot. She comes into the lives too, of course. So but I see my Junie here. So Junie is sharing her love with everyone, and Val Nek too. So he's showing me the planet, and he's showing me drones flying over the planet. He's saying, pay attention. He says, not to the skies. He says, look within your heart. And he's encouraging. So your consciousness is here. He's saying, drop it into your heart and shine that way. He says, we are Terran support. He says, we come in peace. He says, we love you all. And he's bowing. So Francis says, must be nice sharing with Junie. June, I love June. Like, there's so many like beautiful things about June. Anyways, I'll have to post a picture. I'll go out and see her, and I'll have to post a picture of her on Telegram or something. But anyways, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or whatever you guys celebrate. You know, really what that means to me is it's a message of love, right? And well-wishing. So I love you guys, and I'll be back with more videos.